Righto, welcome to Captain Dorja's Armory. This is Captain Dorja, and what we're going to take a look at today is the Panther M10. This is an interesting tank. It's a German Tier 7 medium premium. I picked up several medium tier, mid-tier premium vehicles lately. You can see I've got a TOG 2. That thing's hilarious. I've got a Panther M10. I've also picked up a Dicker Max and the infamous, where is it? Oh, not that. SU-100Y, the box tank. I have these for crew training, and also because they're fun. Premium vehicles, if you're using, you can use crew of the same class of vehicle from the same nation. So I have this Panther M10 with a crew for my new VK3002D, aka the DB. I have this Panther M10 to train my DB crew and my E50 crew. I also have it because I've been curious to know how this vehicle played since they released it. And I also, it's always nice to have more tanks, more things that you can play with your friends, and more things that make you bonus credits, and, whatever. So, for the fun, for the money, for the crew skills, Panther M10. Fun fact about the Panther M10, it is a German Panther that has had applique armor added to it to make it look like an American M10 tank destroyer. And the idea was that with this applique armor, it wouldn't look quite so much like an enemy tank, it would look like a friendly tank destroyer approaching. And the Germans used it at the Battle of the Bulge as one of their deception tactics with for their attack on the American positions in the Ardennes Forest. So you can see right here, the turret has some applique armor on the gun mantlet and also on the sides and rear to remove the characteristic shape of the Panther turret and give it the shape of a M10 turret. It's also got applique armor on the front glacis plate to change that to look more like an M10, and applique armor on the rear to remove that characteristic Panther shape and give it the look of an M10. So that's why it's called a Panther M10. Now, cosmetically, it's meant to look sort of like an M10 tank destroyer, but in practice, it's a Panther with all the advantages and disadvantages thereof. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to have some replays in this. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to compare it to vehicles in the tech tree. So here's the American Tier 7 medium, the T20, the British Comet. The Germans have the standard Panther and the 3002 DB. Let's just arrange these things here. We're going to skip the French right now because the AMX 1375 doesn't really compare at all. With the Russians, I'm not going to look at the KV-13 because I really don't know much about it at all. I've never played it, I've never owned one. You rarely face them. And even though I also don't know much about it, we're going to look at the T-34-1. So, now here's the Panther M10. It cost 5,750 gold, which is quite a bit. Now here's all our stats. So first thing, hit points. Bear in mind, all of these showing up here, except for the DB, are showing stock hit points. It's not including the turrets. So I don't know how much the turrets add on most of these, but it seems to be about an even 100 HP. So I'm just going to figure 100 HP. So the Panther M10, it's got 1,300 hit points. Estimating T-34-1 is going to have about 1,050. So that's far less than the Panther M10. The T-43, I know with its upgraded turret, it has 1,100 hit points. So the Panther M10 has it beat by 200. The Panther, stock, it's got 1,200 health. I think with the upgraded turret, it's either 1,250 or 1,300. So it's the same as or slightly less than the Panther M10. The 3002 DB has 1,250 hit points with the upgraded turret. So the Panther M10's got 50 more health. The Comet, I'm going to add another flat 100 to the Comet, so I'm assuming it's got about 1,150. So again, 150 more on the Panther M10, and I know that the T20 has 1100 fully upgraded. So again, the Panther M10's got a whole 200 more health. The speed, T20 56 kilometers per hour, Comet 51 and a half, DB 56, Panther 48, T43 51, T34 150, the Panther M10 46. So kind of on the slower end of those. Actually, I think it's the slowest. It's quite heavy. It weighs 46 tons, so that puts you up at the top of the end of the weight scale. A 700 horsepower engine. All these engines are stock, so I'm not really going to compare that, although I will tell you that it's heavier and has less engine power than the DB. So mobility-wise, it's kind of mediocre. It's the armor on it. It's a medium tank, so you can't really count on your armor at all. It's 85 millimeters on the hull front, 50 on the sides, 40 on the rear, and 100 on the turret front and 45 on the sides and rear. Medium tank armor is generally basically not to be trusted, so I'm just going to discount that. And really the only other thing I want to look at is the gun selection. And we're going to compare the gun on the Panther M10 to the gun on the... We're going to compare it to the 88mm L56, we're going to compare it to the Soviet gun, and we're going to compare it to the American gun. So here's the Panther M10's gun, the 75mm L70. Here is the German 88mm L56. Just get those out of the way. The T20 actually has an excellent gun for a tier 7 medium. I'll just get these out of the way so I can look at the tech tree. And the T43. Right, there we go. Okay, so Panther M10, 88mm on the DB. I don't want to look at the comedy gun on the Panther, the L100, because it's stupid. The 90mm for the T20 and the 85mm gun for the T30 or the T43. So the Panther M10's gun has a rate of fire of 13.3. You can see that's quite good. It's almost 4 rounds per minute, better than that on the DB. It is almost double the rate of fire of the T20, which has about a 7 round per minute rate of fire, and it's still quite higher even than the 85mm gun for the T43, which has a good rate of fire at about 10.5. Penetration-wise, it is mediocre with 150. Although you can see the 90mm gun for the T20 only has 160 penetration, and it probably is the best gun on a tier 7 medium. You can see the Russians down here with their 85mm have 144 penetration, and the 88mm L56 with its 132 penetration, which is basically awful. Damage-wise, 135 for the Panther M10, that's pretty low, but the rate of fire makes up for it. The T20 with 240 damage, that's quite good. The 180 damage for the Russian, that's alright. And 220, assuming you can penetrate with the 88. Panther M10, its gun is the most accurate at .35, compared to .38 on the Germans and American, and .37 on the Russians. They all have the same aiming time of 2.3 seconds. So DPM-wise, the Panther M10's gun is pretty good. Its penetration is actually not bad, and it's fairly accurate. So if you can work with the low alpha damage, you should have a pretty good weapon. Now, combined with the HP, I think we're going to have an interesting tank here. So, what do I have on my Panther M10? I've got a gun rammer, because this tank's gun is all about DPM, so we need to put out lots of shots. And I've got binocular telescope and a camo net. I feel like with the Panther M10, you want to be Well, I feel like you almost want to be in a support role, not a frontline fighter. If you stay back behind some of your better medium tanks, stay back a little bit, stay back a little behind your heavy tanks, and provide support fire, put your DPM to work people from the sides and from the flank, this thing can be pretty good. Because of the gun's marginal penetration, I have some premium ammo, but you can see I have mostly armor piercing and a few high explosive to reset caps, and the standard holy trinity of medkit, repair kit, fire extinguisher, and basic medium tank skills, repair, off-road driving, smooth ride, rather snapshot for the gunner, and repair. So yeah, pretty typical medium tank crew. Although this is the crew for my DB, so that crew skills don't really mean anything, but anyway, that's more than enough time in the garage. We've been in here way too long, so let's cut to the replay action. Let's get this thing into the fight. Well, here we are, standard battle on Lakeville in the Panther M10. You can see down at the other end of the field is a real M10, and they don't really look that similar, but whatever. The floaty names kind of give everything away anyway. Excuse me. Now, we're on Lakeville, and Lakeville's a map that I like, but Lakeville is also a map that inspires intense frustration, because even though it's a pretty easy map, lots of players don't seem to grasp the fundamentals of deployment on this map. So, being the top tier tank on my team, I go off to do my duty and fight in the city. This is a bad matchup to showcase the fighting style I would like to use with the Panther M10, because I'm going to be mixing it up in a city. I'm not going to be sitting in the second line, sort of laying down the long-range fire. But the matchmaker is very favorable right now. There's only one tier 7, and it's a T-29. So I think I should be able to play fine up front with the big boys. And since I am the big boy on my team, I better make it work. You can see some great driving right there by our Panzer III-4. And right here, I stopped to do two things. To let him get a little farther ahead to see what's up there, and because I was watching Netflix, and it asked me if I wanted the TV show I was watching to continue playing, and I had to alt-tab and say yes. So, yeah, there we go. Alright, done harping a derp. Enemy spotted. Tier 5 mediums. No big deal. Time to put this thing to work. Killing Tier 5 mediums is what the Panther is really good at in this game, so let's put this sucker into action. You can see right there the average damage on this gun is pretty low, right around 150. Taking care to not hit my teammates. Putting another hit onto this Panzer III-4, and he goes down. We've also taken out their KV-2. You can see the enemy is failing in the valley, as per usual. And so right here I'm trying to come around this corner, but the enemy T-29 is here, and I want to be careful with him. Now this friendly T-25 doesn't make my life easy, but
punch right through their armor.
No blood, no foul, I guess, so he's forgiven. Now what I'm trying to do is engage either one of these Panzer IVs without eating damage from this T-29. But I zoom out there and I can see the T-29's not paying attention, so I go for it on the Panzer IV. T-25 doing his best to get in the way. Now this KV-1S comes around, I try to fire at him, miss, I need to pull back before he puts a big one into me. Well, you can see that he put a big one into me anyway, and I go to fire back. Jackwagon in the T-25 eats it off the back of the turret, and promptly does the exact same thing again. So, whoever the heck you are, driving your stupid T-25, L to not block teammates, brosif. Now, rage over. You can see the T-29 is YOLOing it right through the town. And since he's on a mission to get himself killed, I guess, I decided to ignore him and go for the KV-1S. I drive up onto that rock pile right there in an effort to get far enough around the corner that he can't shoot me, and it's semi-effective. I get lucky to not eat another big hit from him. There you go, set him on fire. I'll take that. Put another into him. There's my first kill. Now, I miscount my kills in this match when I'm playing, and I think I'm about to do a lot better than I am. So, you'll see me in the chat saying some pretty stupid things later. This T-29 is not showing a lot of brains, so I'm going to try and ambush him as he comes around the corner. Hopefully I can get his tracks off.
Enemy is hit.
No dice on the tracking shot, but he ignores me and he goes straight after our T-25. So, never interrupt the enemy while they're making a mistake.
Penetration.
I will shoot this guy in the butt all day long until he points his gun at me, and then I'll back around behind a corner and wait for him to aim at my friend. And then I'll shoot him in the butt all day long. At this point, if he'd swiveled his gun around, I was just going to eat the shell, because dropping from 940 to 700 hit points in order to kill that guy would have been worth it.
Penetration.
And there's some of what I want to be using this thing for. Sitting far away from the enemy, shooting at targets that my allies have lit up, and I have no idea why I fired that one right there. I think when I was playing this, I was having some ping issues, so I may have had a bit of lag right there and thought I actually had a chance of getting the kill on that guy. Anyway, I've got 2 kills. The enemy team's basically defeated. Everything they have left except their Stug 3 is in the valley. We control the town. Although the T-29 did manage to mop up some of the people in the town with me, we control it. We've dominated the middle, and we're crushing the valley. So I'm pushing into their base when I encounter this Stug. Now, I'm having ping trouble here, but he must be having even worse, because he doesn't even see me until I shoot him, and then he spins around and takes just about the most ineffectual shot ever, and I kill him. And then I troll him up in the chat about the fact that I have no ping and that I'm still dominating his team. There you go, playing with 300 ping and kicking ass in a bad tank. So, our Churchill and our KV-1 are in the base. I'm coming up to help them out. They've got a Sherman with no health left defending, while everybody else still tries to push the valley. Now, at some point, this team had to realize that they needed to hold their base, but I guess they were either pinned down and realized they couldn't retreat, or they had a pipe dream where they thought they could somehow successfully push the valley and still win. I don't know. This is the type of deployment fail that just causes me to rage in Lakeville when my team pulls this kind of shenanigans and puts half their guys in the valley and then they all die anyway. This team deployed 8 out of 15 people to the valley, and every single one of them was killed, and they never even managed to cross the middle. So, bravo to them. So I'm on 4 kills, and I'm going for Top Gun, and I realize that KV's a good enough cover that it'll actually be easier to try and take out this Jumbo Sherman and this KV-1 at range. So I'm firing at the Jumbo Sherman, and then I realize the KV-1 is one-shotable, so I switch to him and bounce. And then roll incredibly low, leave him on 3 health, and the kill gets stolen from me. But I managed to ninja the Jumbo, and at this point, I actually think I've got Top Gun. So you see me put in chat, yes! But I only have 5 kills. And then, continuing the bragging streak, I claim that I just almost won a Bolter's medal, which is not true. I thought that the Jumbo Sherman was kill number 6, so the KV, had I rolled anywhere near my average of 150, would have been kill number 7, which would have been a Bolter's medal, but didn't kill the KV, didn't get the Top Gun, definitely wasn't close to the Bolter's medal. So, that was the end of that match. Let's take a look at some post-battle statistics. Well, the battle results are in, and that was a pretty successful match. Master Badge Ace Tanker, that's always nice to get. Master Gunner and Sharpshooter, or whichever one those are, nobody cares. You can see my kills and damaged enemies is long enough that it's not even, I can't even contain it in one screenshot. 72,400 credits. That is with a premium account, and it is also very above average for this. Granted, I've only played 3 battles in it, but in my other 2, I made something like 45 or maybe 50,000 credits, which is alright for a non-tier 8 premium vehicle, but it's not it's nothing special. And 72,000 is definitely not average in this. That's better than average. And 3,458 experience, doubled for the first win of the day. So that's pretty good experience. You can see that I made a profit of 66,760 credits. Again, that's way better than normal. I dealt 2,670 damage. I actually managed to tank a potential 1,430 damage, which is surprising. I didn't take hardly any hits, and I only took one penetrating hit for 360. Apparently I received 6 hits. I'm not sure when that happened. Only detected one enemy, almost no detection damage. Here you can see the most damage on the team by a substantial margin, although, in fairness, I'm the only tier 7 on my team, but we had some tier 6s and tier 5s that are just as capable, or even more than capable, of dealing damage than I am. The Jumbo Sherman, the KV-1, the Hellcat, even, the Churchill 1, even the Stug, it's got the same gun as me, and, nobody's got any excuse in this match. But, still, 2,600 damage. The next 2 people on our team only dealt 2,700 damage, so that's pretty good. Top experience on the team, again, by 400 more than our next closest, or that's not our next closest. 300 more than our next closest, and since these guys lost, their experience is all garbage. Yeah, so a pretty good match in this. In fairness, it should be said that the Panther M10 does get preferential matchmaking, which, because of that L70 gun, it really needs. If this thing had to fight tier 9s, it would be ridiculous. I don't even know if it has to fight tier 8s. I mean, going up against a IS-3 or something with it, going up against an IS-3 with this, forget about it. KV-5, an IS-6, it would be just horrendous. There are medium tanks that this thing would have trouble with. Forget about fighting a Type 59 in this thing. He would just wreck you. Even a Jumbo Sherman is going to be pretty tough to damage from the front with this thing. A Ferdinand would trash you just because the gun has such low penetration and damage. But, yeah, Panther M10, it's, on paper, it's pretty crappy, but it turns out it's actually pretty fun. I think I like this tank. And really, who doesn't like a German tank disguised as an American tank destroyer with a horrible gun? I don't know. You be the judge. Anyway, that's all for now. This is Captain Dorja with Captain Dorja's Armory, and just remember, you can never have enough big guns.